could start out with some interesting introduction, painting the image of a nuclear war for you. Talk about how terrible the country could be if space exploration were to be significantly increased. Or I could just get to the points. Hello judges, classmates, and audience members. My name is Taylor Aquino and my partner is Alan Tang. We will be speaking on behalf of the negative side. We, the negatives, support space exploration as a whole, but do not believe that it needs to be substantially increased. The resolution that the affirmative side agrees with resolves that the U.S. federal government should substantially increase space exploration is unpractical and undesirable, and we will explain why throughout this debate. Let's break some things down for you. The United States federal government is the national government of the United States. We, as the negative, would like to negate any mentions from the affirmative of foreign exploration teams or private industries as valid points for their sides, because neither of those are directly related to the federal government. Space exploration is the discovery and exploration of outer space by means of space technology. Substantially, meaning of great amount or noticeable change, and increase, meaning to make larger. As a country, it will not benefit us to have a substantial increase in space exploration. Our first contention deals with the U.S. government's disinterest in increasing space exploration. A typical shuttle mission can cost between $400 and $500 million, and to complete and launch a satellite could cost around $20 million. Even with all these fundings required, many missions, such as the Galileo spacecraft, end up crashing into their intended subjects or simply flying out into deep space to become space junk. One major setback occurred in 2010, when the Moon Constellation program was canceled due to cost overruns. According to the New York Times, after spending $9 billion over the past 4 years on Constellation canceling, the contracts will cost an additional $2.5 billion. NASA currently has 133 missions set for right now. If we increase the workload, NASA may not be able to handle all these missions, and more failures are likely to occur. Besides, NASA believes it can accomplish all its goals with the current budget. NASA Administrator Charles Bolden stated in February, "The budget insources jobs, creates capabilities here at home, and strengthens our workforce, all while opening the next great chapter in American exploration." Furthermore, Deputy Administrator Laurie Garber reported, "This budget puts us on course to explore further into space than ever before, revealing the unknown and fueling the nation's economy for years to come. We are committed to ensuring that our astronauts are once again launched, and this budget provides the funds to make this a reality." This shows that NASA's top administrators are fine with the current budget and are not begging for a substantial increase. Since we are in hard economic times, budgets are going to be reduced, and NASA understands this. Before the recession in 2005, NASA had a budget of $16.2 billion, and now in 2013, they will have more than that, even though this country is heavily in debt. Let's face it, NASA's just not the top priority. It's not like you say, "Hey, I'm going to vote for him because of his views on space." Overall, there just isn't a huge public interest, which is very important when you are talking about billions of taxpayers' dollars. We aren't saying that space and NASA aren't important by any means, but significantly increasing space exploration is just something that the U.S. can't handle right now. Thus, if NASA has bigger ambitions that the U.S. federal government cannot afford by itself, they should propose to seek outside help, which my partner Alan will discuss later in this debate. Our second contention deals with keeping the peace. The United States has the most advanced space program of all the countries, without a substantial increase, by the way, which is something that we should be incredibly proud of, but it is also something that we should be cautious of too. Think of it this way. There's a star athlete on the opposite team who laughs at you as your team slowly falls behind. Do you sit back and admire their three-pointers, their amazing hat trick, or their high-flying home run? No. You fight back. Well, now let's put this into space. The United States is a star athlete, and other countries are going to want to fight back. Therefore, we cannot be seen as a threat, but as a country that is willing to join together and intermingle with the other countries. Although it is great to be an amazing sports player in a soccer game or basketball game, you won't get missiles launched at you or have surprise satellites launched into space. And speaking of launched satellites, let's take a trip back to the 1960s. NASA spent about the 1960s, the space race. NASA spent about $23 billion on manned programs from 1961 through the first lunar landing in 1969 to compete with the Soviet Union space race. Soon, the two countries were at brink of a nuclear war with Cuba aiming missiles at us. Why? Because the United States was perceived as a threat and a competitor. Luckily, we averted the nuclear crisis, but we may not be so lucky next time. The negative agrees that space exploration can provide benefits to mankind in the future. However, the most efficient way of achieving success is through collaboration. Which brings us to our third contention, international cooperation. Instead of the United States federal government increasing space exploration, we should encourage space exploration at the international level. Not only would we be able to accomplish all the proposed goals that the affirmative has, but also we would be improving diplomatic relations. Space exploration has proven to be an expensive activity. By working together, we would spread the cost to us and to other countries that we will work with. Therefore, a nation will have the incentive to engage in international cooperation while doing so reducing our cost as a nation. This idea is especially appealing to less developed nations who cannot afford to have a space program. The United Nations, which the U.S. is part of, writes in Section 3 of the Declaration of International Cooperation in the Exploration of Outer Space for the benefits and interest of all states, particularly those with relevant space capabilities and with programs for the exploration and use of outer space, should contribute to promoting and fostering international cooperations on an equitable and mutual acceptable basis. The U.S. federal government has signed this declaration. They are encouraging international cooperation and they are freezing NASA's budget. So what makes the affirmative think that they are suddenly just going to substantially increase it? It's just not going to happen. Which is why you need to vote for negative. Vote for something that is possible, practical, and desirable for us as a country. Vote for negative. Thank you.